Welcome, everybody, to our March 25th, 6:30 p.m. meeting of the Watsonville City Council. I'm going to have the city clerk do our roll call.
Bielisich. Kaufman Gomez.
Present.
Dodge. Here. Hernandez.
Here.
Hurst. Here. Montesino.
Here.
Cervantes.
Here. Everyone here, please join me in standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before getting started on our oral communications from the public and also from our council members, I did want to make an announcement for anyone needing translation equipment. Para usar los aparatos de interpretación en español, obtenga un aparato de la mesa junto a la caseta de interpretación. Préndalo y use el canal 0, cuélgueselo en el cuello con el frente hacia afuera. Si no puede oír, revise que el aparato esté encendido y sin obstrucciones. Solo funciona dentro de la Cámara del Concilio y regréselo antes de partir. So now, as part of our agenda, we do have a time set aside for members of the general public to address the council on any item that is not on the council agenda. Just please come forward to the microphone, state your name, and also the district where you live or your address.
Good evening. My name is Dana Sales. I live at 549 Cerise Street here in Watsonville. Mayor Cervantes and members of the council, it's a privilege for me to be standing here before you. And I'm afraid I've got some good news and bad news. Let me start with the bad news. A lot of people have said, Dana, how come you have not announced yet that you haven't had a big fundraiser, you haven't had a big coming out that you're running for county supervisor? Well, I wanted to do it a couple of weeks ago. And I called the city and I said, I want to go to the city plaza and just give a speech and say, I'm running for supervisor. So I called the city, and about 4 days later, I got a call back. I ended up leaving a message. And the message was, well, nobody's asked us to do that before. And so we had to ask a few people what to do. And I was told that I would need a permit, and I'd have to pay for a permit. And so I asked, well, why would I have to pay for a permit just to stand there and say I'm running for supervisor? And they said, well, on top of that, I'd have to pay a processing fee. So I thought, well, you know, it's not really an event. I just want to stand there and say I'm running for supervisor and this is why. And I was told that if the press shows up, it's an event. If more than 20 people show up, it's an event. If somebody carries a sign, it's an event. So you'll have to pay the fee and get the permit. So I thought, well, that doesn't seem right. It's the city plaza. And I just wanted to talk. Well, I decided not to do it. I thought it'd be great to come downtown because my father owned the barber shop that is where your library is right now, right here below us. My sister owned the beauty shop at Gottschalk's. And I owned Penguin Printing, which is on the 500 block. And this was all at the same time. We actually had, my family had 3 businesses on Main Street in downtown Watsonville. So I wanted to just stress that, you know, that Watsonville is a great place and a great opportunity for people to get started and to really grow. So I decided not to do it. But then I was talking to some friends, and the Watsonville Community Band, so I'm going to plug something now here, is actually going to have their spring concert at the Mello Center a week from Sunday on April 6th. As a matter of fact, I brought a couple of flyers, and I hope that you might be able to put them somewhere or maybe put something on the TV station. And the band was very excited that I was thinking about just doing my little speech on the steps of the Mello Center. And they thought it would be a wonderful thing since I'm kind of like the face of the band in Watsonville because there's so many band members from all over the place. So I'm here to let you know that I will be doing my little speech saying I'm running for county supervisor. I'd like to invite you and all the members of the public to join me on the steps of the Mello Center on April 6th at 1:30. And it's a great time to come to a great family-friendly event. The band does these things twice a year at the Mellow. And the Mellow is such a great place. You know, look at the other family-friendly thing we just had, the film festival. So I just wanted to say that I'd love to see you guys there. It's not like a private invitation kind of thing at somebody's hall. It's a public place, and I think it should be a public event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Some of you know who I am. My name is Donald N. Normagan. I've been a resident here since 1966. I am also involved and have been for the last 14 years with the metro system. It's my means of transportation. As much as I have loved metro, both as a governors, board of directors rather, and a MAC member for the last 12 to 14 years, I am still involved, and I love it because it is my means of transportation. It has been brought to my attention by a number of sources that the administrative system of the metro is considering cutting out run number 79 on the weekends. This is something that I'm sure Daniel and Eduardo have heard or are aware of, but I want to ask all of you to put whatever pressure you can as members of the City Council on the Metro System Administration to cease from that. It is the sole means that many of us in the 1,000 homes out in Bay, Pajaro, and Monteverde have of getting around. So please, when various moments come up, both individually and as a group, please do everything you can to keep the bus system run number 79 on the weekends apparent, because it is our only, a number of us, it's our only means of transportation during the weekend, especially in the weekends. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, council members. I'm Darrell Johnson, and this is Gwen Yao. We represent the Seniors Council Board of Directors for Santa Cruz and San Benito counties. And we're here today to express our appreciation to all of you for your support of Project Scout in the past years. Project Scout is a senior citizens outreach program that is a tax program that provides free tax services for senior citizens, the disabled and low-income residents of Santa Cruz County. Project Scout began its operations in 1968 as a private nonprofit organization that is now a part of the Seniors Council. They train and support local corps of IRS volunteers to complete their work, and are open to the public throughout the year. It should be noted that their main office is in the Seniors Center here in Watsonville. In this last year, Project Scout sits at almost 2,400 seniors and low-income individuals in Santa Cruz County with their taxes, resulting in refunds and tax credits of over $1,700,000 for Santa Cruz residents. In your city, those tax returns brought vital, necessary funds to older residents of the county, and we see this as a triple win.
the win is for the seniors, for the older adults, they get support, and these are the most vulnerable, most needy citizens of your city and the rest of the county. That's a win. They also, most of the refunds that come from the taxes that are filed, and most of those refunds get spent locally for groceries and medications and equipment, and car expenses and so forth, and to the local merchants. So that's a win-win. And above that, whenever the merchants receive those funds, they pay taxes for the city so that you can continue your good work. So we see that as a win-win-win that this Project Scout has given to your city. So I wanted to also tell you about where the sites are for the rest of the tax season here in Watsonville. On Mondays, they're from 4 to 7 in the Watsonville Library. On Tuesdays, from 9:30 to 12:30 in La Manzana Community Resources. On Wednesdays, from 1 to 3 at the Watsonville Senior Center, where, as Daryl said, the Project Scout office is. And by the way, I should say, we're very appreciative of the city offering that space for the as the owner of the building that the Watsonville Senior Center is in to allow for both of the services that are provided by organizations to the older adults, as well as the senior center, which is a very vital senior center for a lot of older adults. On Fridays, the Project Scout tax assistance will be from 3 to 5, again in the Watsonville Library, and Saturdays by appointment from 10 to 12 at the Immigration Project. In-home appointments are also available for those that are unable to come to the sites. So if you know of someone who would like to participate and would like to have help with their taxes and the refunds that they have, you can call 831-724-2606, and Daryl is going to leave some flyers available at this through the city clerk. Or you can go into the Seniors Council website, www.seniorscouncil.org/Project Scout. So thank you for supporting your community seniors through the important programs like Seniors Council Project Scout. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris Finney. I'm from the 5th District, and I'm actually here about a county issue. Madam Mayor, council members, this is actually an issue that affects all of the citizens of the county and all government bodies at every level. Because of judicial rulings over almost 150 years, a corporation is now considered a legal person. Corporations have used this status to claim constitutional rights. They've then gone to court to overturn environmental and financial regulation, worker and product safety laws, and even local zoning ordinances, all on the basis of their supposed constitutional rights. Most recently, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a corporation's right to free speech allows it to spend unlimited amounts of money to influence elections and legislation. While most of these court cases have been decided in federal court, the decisions affect us locally. They affect the water rights that Watsonville needs to support your huge agricultural sector. They impact zoning laws that you've worked so hard to decide on and implement. And they allow dark money spending that could affect the outcome of measures placed even on the city ballot. Because of this, the grassroots activists of Move to Amend Santa Cruz are trying to place a measure on the county ballot in November. It says that the citizens of Santa Cruz County want our elected representatives to support a constitutional amendment that says corporations are not people and money is not speech. I have brought copies of the resolution, and I've also brought copies of my remarks, and I would ask that the City Council pass a resolution of support for our measure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natalia Escobedo Garcia. I am from the Santa Cruz area, and I'm here today on behalf of Survivors Healing Center. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are a program of Family Service Agency of the Central Coast, and we offer support and services to survivors of child sexual abuse and their allies. One out of five girls and 1 out of 5 boys experience some form of sexual abuse before the age of 18. In 90% of the cases, the abuser is someone the child knew, and in roughly 50% of the cases, the abuser is either a parent or a step-parent. Our center works to bring awareness about this issue, and one of the large forms in which we look to bring awareness in the community is by having our Walk to Stop the Silence. We have this walk every year here in the Watsonville Plaza. This year it's taking place on April 5th, and I'm here to invite you all to attend. It would be great if even some of you can come and participate in our walk, but your presence would be enough for us. So again, that's on April 5th. The walk is from 11 to 2 p.m. and it takes place here in the Watsonville Plaza. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Councilman, Councilwomen. My name is Rich Persoff. I live on Devon Court. I back up on Pinto Lake, and I want to speak to you for a few moments about something which will be covered in much more detail by Mr. Dondero, but this is a particular aspect of rail trail planning that I want to bring before the public at the earliest possible moment. It's something whose implementation will not be for 10 or 20 years, but I believe it needs to be thought about now. It's a project which will maintain the development of both North County and South County. It's directed towards the use of the 10,000 acre feet or 10 million gallons of water, which Santa Cruz discharges to the ocean as treated wastewater every year or every day. This is water which could be used much more efficiently. And the concept that I wish to leave in your mind is that all rail trail planning should include a dual pipeline that can move agricultural quality wastewater within the county, and when the appropriate treatment plants are built, a second pipeline will move treated, purified, potable quality water again to wherever it's needed in the county. We have in the county a number of very diligent, hardworking water agencies, but they all have boundaries. And the program that I'm talking about asks us to think of the county as an entire water providing and water consuming unit with ability to transfer water along the existing corridor at moderate expense and great benefit to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Marisol Jimenez Maciel. I'm the recreation coordinator at Callahan Park from Parks and Community Services Department. And I just wanted to share with you the event that we had last week on Thursday, March 20th in the community rooms for the Cesar Chavez Community Awards, where we had 7 community members that were recognized for their countless hour efforts that they've donated to the community as volunteers to make a difference in our community. And I wanted to share that those 7 people were Dora Gonzalez, Nahara Villalobos, Karina Rodriguez, Virginia Romero, Veronica Ruiz, Berenice Valentin, and Jesus Pantoja. This was the first year that we included an adult component to our event, and it was a great success. So we just wanted to let you know. I also wanted to take a few minutes to thank those council members that were present that night, to our Mayor Karina Cervantes for doing our welcoming, to Mayor Pro Tem Felipe Hernandez for helping with our organizing committee and helping us acquire some great donations from Mi Pueblo Foods, for Dr. Nancy Bilicic for her nomination and participation during that night, and to Lowell Hurst for being present that night. Thank you all. As well as some of our Parks and Recreation Commissioners, Ria Dehart, Maria Orozco, and Rebecca Garcia, who also assisted as the selection committee member. And to the business and organizations that helped throughout the event. Laura Owen was our keynote address. She's the branch manager for Bay Federal Credit Union and also the chairman for our City of Watsonville Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture. We wanted to thank Mi Pueblo Foods for the generous donation they gave us for food to all those families who attended the event. The Cesar Chavez Democratic Club, the Santa Cruz County Latino Affairs Commission, and all of those families who were in attendance. It was really a wonderful event that was filled with heartfelt messages from everybody who did a nomination and who received an award. So I just wanted to thank you all. And food, and great food. So thank you all. Yeah, we had wonderful chicken and beef fajitas, rice and beans, guacamole. It was just a terrific event, and we just wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for collaborating with me and being present that night, and just for everything that happened that night. It was a wonderful night for all the families. All we saw was happy faces. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to address us on an item not on our agenda? Seeing none, I'm also going to call up our folks from the California Nurses Association, our nurses from the Watsonville Community Hospital that are wishing to address us here this evening.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Holm. I've been a nurse at Watsonville Community Hospital for almost 9 years now. I've worked in various departments. I've worked in the intensive care nursery. I've worked in postpartum for the mother-baby unit. And currently I'm a pediatric nurse, and I also take care of general medical surgical patients. And so in this community, I've had the opportunity to take care of your babies, your kids, your moms, your dads, your grandparents, and it's my privilege, it's my honor to do so.
Hi, my name is Susan Herbert. I have worked at Watsonville Hospital for 33 years in special procedures for the entire time. And I live in Watsonville. I'm very committed to the community and to everyone here taking care of you. And I'm very concerned for patient safety now due to what is happening at the hospital.
Hi, my name is Julie Talbert, and I've been at the hospital since 1999, 20 years. I am the charge nurse in the cardiac department, so I've seen many of the people in our community many times, and I'm here for all the same reasons that were just stated. I'm concerned, and I love my hospital, and I want to be a very good patient advocate for all of our patients. Thank you.
And my name is Anna Ramirez. I've been at the hospital for 25 years. 12 years in the medical surgical area, 13 in labor and delivery. And I care very much for this community, and we're here advocating for all of us because someday we will be patients too.
My name is Linda Kerr. We live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I travel over to Watsonville Community Hospital. I love your community. I love the people that I care for. I consider them my family also and treat them as such. I consider it a blessing to be a nurse. I want the best care for my patients possible.
Good evening. My name is Jan Charles, and I've been in the emergency department at Watsonville Community Hospital for 19 years. I'm here tonight in support of all the registered nurses working at the hospital and as a patient advocate. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Cabral, and I've been a nurse at Watsonville Hospital for 35 years this June. And the hospital has been my family, basically. Anyway, I just want to say that we have, in the past, when we've had problems with our contract negotiations, we've had a lot of support from the City Council. I want to thank you all for that, and I know it will continue. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Sky Rhodes Rendon, and I've been a nurse at the hospital for 34 years. I work in the cardiac cath lab, but I also work in special procedures. I've worked ICU, I've worked in the emergency room, I've worked as nursing supervisor, and actually was the nursing supervisor for the 1989 earthquake. And I'm here tonight to advocate for our patients. We're really having problems at the hospital, even just getting regular equipment that's broken. And my heart breaks because I want our patients from this community taken care of well, and it's difficult to do that these days. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Forrest, and I live in Santa Cruz. But my husband and I are business owners in Watsonville, so we care very much for this community. I've been the charge nurse in labor and delivery for over 28 years. If you've had babies in our hospital, more than likely I've been there. I just want you to know that we nurses really need a fair contract and a contract so our shoes can be filled when we leave the hospital. I've devoted my entire career to Watsonville Community Hospital as a nurse, and it's the only place I think I will ever want to work as a nurse. So just asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Megan Fag. This is my daughter, Violet. We live in Santa Cruz. And I've been with Watsonville Hospital just for 2 months. And I was appalled at the poor leadership, a lack of leadership, unsafe practices. And I couldn't provide safe care there. And I'm proud of these nurses for doing what they do, but it's hard to see. And so I did have to leave there. I don't know what my plans are, but it's just an injustice to see CHS profit at the expense of these patients and the staff who do their job. And it needs to be taken care of at the national level. It really does. And I'm sorry I get emotional every time I speak out, but it's really wrong. Truly, truly wrong.
My name's Tim Thomas, and I live here in Watsonville on Casserly Road. The reason that we're here today, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for supporting the nurses at the hospital and your continued support and your presence out on the picket lines. And I think that the nursing community is very aware of the support that you give, and we're extremely appreciative. But the reason that we're here is to basically give you a short report on the troubles at the hospital. Some of you may know that we're currently negotiating a contract at the hospital. We're running into difficulties. The success or failure of our contract negotiations has a lot to do with how we take care of patients, and frankly how we take care of all of us, you, me, everybody that that lives here that has a problem goes to the hospital. One of the things that a lot of folks don't know is that the Community Hospital of Watsonville is what it says on the outside, but really at this moment it's owned by a Wall Street corporation that really is controlled not locally, and the profits that the hospital makes out of the community don't get spent here. The employees, of course, get paychecks here, that we spend here, but the hospital's profits go to Tennessee. And so that goes outside of our community. So as a community, we have an interest in how they do business, and I think it really is part of our concern. And so that company's, the name of it is CHS community healthcare systems. They're currently the largest for-profit hospital chain in the country. So our duty and why these folks are here is to just basically alert the community of what this process that's going on, that you folks are involved. Ultimately, we'll get the result of. I mean, it's run by a corporation, but it still is the hospital that serves our community. The concerns of places where we're having trouble negotiating this contract is about nursing staffing ratios. They care about the bottom line and making money, and we're happy for them to make money and be profitable. We also care about the level of care that we're giving them, and for them, if we have enough nurses to take care of the patients, that represents some profits that they may not get to pocket. So we're looking for a compromise in that. We want to have really good care, and of course, we want them to be successful as well and make money. We also have a few problems with equipment that our sense is that we want to deliver the good care with the good equipment, and their sense is they want to cut corners a little bit. So just examples. The hospital, some of the equipment's pretty old, like the beds are 20 years old. Well, when the wheels get rusty and they don't turn, then the nurses push the beds and get a big backache and, have problems. And it's just everyday kind of regular routine stuff that we're struggling with. So we're looking forward to continued support, and we will try to come back and report as we go along. But thank you very much for having us here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming and addressing us this evening and just keeping us posted on your efforts there for a fair contract. And just thank you for the care you provide to the Watsonville community and your advocacy for quality care. Thank you. So at this point, I'm going to ask my council members. We'll return to oral communications from city council members, but I did want to ask all of you to join me down at the podium so that we can move on to item 3.2 and recognize some of the extraordinary women here that we are honoring in celebration of Women's History Month. So I just really wanted us all to take this opportunity to recognize and celebrate National Women's History Month and ask all of us to stand up here and recognize some amazing women in our community. Each of us will have an opportunity to speak to a woman whose name we submitted and whose work we want to recognize here in our community for making a significant and also positive change in our community. I just wanted to very briefly touch on a little bit of the history of National Women's History Month. It's only been recognized since 1987 by our US government, and it's really meant to recognize and celebrate the many contributions of women throughout our nation's history. And I wanted to read a little bit of an excerpt from President Obama's proclamation that he signed at the beginning of this month to recognize Women's History Month 2014. And so he noted, "We are reminded that in America, freedom and justice have never come easily. As part of a centuries-old and ever-evolving movement, countless women have put their shoulder to the wheel of progress. Trailblazers who defied convention and shattered glass ceilings, millions who claimed control of their own bodies, voices, and lives. Together, they have pushed our nation toward equality, liberation, and acceptance of women's right to shape the future of our nation. As we honor the many women who have shaped our history, let us also celebrate those who make progress in our time and in our community. And as mayor, I asked all of our council members to consider nominating women who have made a significant and positive impact on our community. And each of the council members will have the opportunity, as I mentioned, to speak for a minute or two about the women they chose to celebrate this Women's History Month. And I wanted to start off by describing a little about the woman whom I submitted to celebrate this evening. And her name is Janet Johns. I know, I saw her walk in. And she's not only the co-founder and artistic director of Esperanza del Valle, she's also a teacher, a maestra in our community, having earned her master's degree as well as her doctorate of education. And for the past year, she has led Esperanza del Valle, which is a community-based organization, an arts-based organization, cultivating and promoting pride and understanding of the Mexican culture. I have a lot of papers with me. Through the rich folklorico dances rooted in the merging of our indigenous, European, and African heritages. They also celebrate and pioneer the folklore of the Mexican dance in the Pájaro Valley, and they share the rich dances of Mexico with our schools, institutions, public service agencies, and local performing arts groups. And they also take an active role of promoting leadership and participation in the arts among the youth in our community. And I think really importantly, for myself, it's just recognizing that she plays a big role in connecting the students, sometimes for the first time, reconnecting students and their families to the rich heritage that is Mexico and the diverse heritage that is Mexico. And so I just really wanted to celebrate you tonight for providing that tradition and expanding upon that tradition here in our community. That was 5. Yeah. So after everyone has an opportunity to describe a little bit about who they nominated, we'll also provide the opportunity for our awardees tonight to speak if they would like.
So I had the opportunity, and I didn't take much time to think about who I was going to select. I kind of knew right off the bat. I selected Gina Castaneda, and many of you know she has an amazing story. You know, she grew up here in Watsonville. You know, grew up through a lot of adversity, and you know, I've seen her. You know, everything she does. You know, I've seen how she positions herself to help people. I remember when she was younger. You know, I'd see her at Salud para la Gente. And, you know, even back then, you know, she was counseling people from, you know, people with HIV, you know, working with at-risk youth, and even up to now, you know, working in probation. She always positions to help people who, you know, most people overlook and don't stop to help. So I think, you know, she's a very special person, you know. And her current endeavor is working with the Azteca soccer team, which is also an amazing story, and it's been on ESPN, the story as well, so you could YouTube that video. But she's working with at-risk youth, not just at risk, but youth that are on probation, often from opposing gangs on the same team. And Gina's a special kind of person that can bring them together just on the field, but also off the field. And I think it takes a special kind of person to, you know, to do that. Gina's the kind of person that doesn't just, you know, talk about problems, but she actually acts on the change that she wants to see. She makes the change that she wants to see in our community. You know, I just want to say that we need more Ginas in our community. I think we need more Ginas in the world.
If I could have Ann Jenkins come up here and stand with me, please. This certificate is in recognition of Ann Jenkins' work. Ann Jenkins is the city's third district is currently on the Museum of Art and History's Historic Landmark Blue Plaque Committee and on the county's Historic Resources Committee, and has been on the city's Library Trustee Board as an alternate and on the late City Public Arts Commission. She and Susie Merriman, Associate Planner of Watsonville Community Development staff, are the only South County representatives on the Blue Plaque Committee. In the past 3 years, Ann has successfully nominated our Art Deco Wells Fargo Bank, that's the downtown branch, and the Westview Presbyterian Church, that's the Japanese American membership on Riverside Drive, and this year, our Pioneer Cemetery on Freedom Boulevard for the Blue Plaque Historic Recognition. She has also worked as a volunteer media coordinator for Papa's Supporting Father Influence with Dutron Kibu, director. Kibu. And we thank Ms. Jenkins for her public service in the community. You know, Ann is always present at the Watsonville Wetlands Watch activities as well. And I was lucky enough to be able to attend the talk that Rich Merrill made last week on backyard gardening and landscaping. And so Ann's very busy in our community, and we congratulate her. Please do. Go right ahead.
I just want to say that the only reason I'm really here is because of Jane Borg, who is an emeritus archivist and historian in our community. She's retired to Oregon, but she's also receiving an award tonight, and she is the one who mentored me about historic preservation and showed me the amazing, amazing Victorian houses, the barns, the sites, the neighborhoods in Watsonville, which need to be preserved. And we could talk about something called sustainable preservation, which is a whole new, very modern word amongst preservationists. Anyway, I want to thank Lowell for nominating me.
Congratulations, and thank you.
His wife would have been a very good nominee, too.
Pass that to Eduardo, please. Thank you. Ann? Thank you. You got that? We thought you gave you plenty of time earlier.
I'm sorry about that. For me, it was really hard. I have a lot of people in my district that are exceptional, but I clued into Carmen Herrera Marcir, wonderful, wonderful candidate in our community. Let me get here my notes. Ms. Herrera has a law degree from University of Iberoamericana in Mexico and a master's degree in international policy, governance, and development specialization from the Monterey Institute of International Studies. She earned a certificate in economic development financing from the National Development Council in 2006. But she's, I think she's proud of being the granddaughter of Bracero farm workers. And the daughter of a farm worker and successful entrepreneur. So she got that from her parents, and with that training and her education, she since 2004, Ms. Herrera Marcir started with El Pájaro CDC. The organization has expanded its programs and services and now offers both space in its commercial kitchen incubator and the Plaza Vigil business incubator, and a comprehensive small business educational technical assistance program to successful support a growing roster of local businesses. You don't imagine how many small business owners, a lot of women transition to these programs, these educational programs, and the effort that she puts into our community. This is a leader that is here to stay in our community, and I really wanted to recognize her. Thank you. in the picture.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for being here this evening. Being raised by my grandmother and being on strike with 2,000 women have certainly taught me where my place is in life. And I also want to say, before I go any further, that two of the closest women in my life are battling cancer right now, my mother and my suegra, Ofelia Camacho. So I ask everybody to support whatever we can fighting cancer in our community. My choice was more than easy, and I was really excited about it because I wanted to say a couple of things about Consuelo Alba, who, and it doesn't say Spire on it, so I'll just read what it says here. And I really wanted to say a few things because Consuelo is such a dynamic, powerful, artistic leader in the Paro Valley and in the state of California that it's an honor for her, for me, to present her with this honor tonight. Consuelo, she's also international. She has degrees from the National University of Mexico and from Stanford University. So it shows that our community is that, international. Consuelo, her work as a reporter for Nuevo Mundo was operated by the San Jose Mercury News, where she was able to be a voice for a community that was seldom heard from. She's done work translating for governmental agencies and nonprofits and other agencies to be able to assist those that have challenges in language barriers. I think a couple of things I wanted to mention was when the earthquake happened in Peru, and I believe it was in 2007, she and John raised money and supported those, the donating profits from their store. It was called Alma Gifts, I believe it was. I didn't write that down, so I don't remember that one. But I think that's really something that people don't know, is that when the Walt Disney Corporation wanted to trademark El Dia de los Muertos, Consuelo and others fought Mickey Mouse. She stood up and was quoted in several newspapers throughout the country saying, "This is our sacred tradition. This is not for sale." And they beat the mouse. Thank you for that. She has been instrumental in organizing the Watsonville Film Festival, something that's only going to get bigger and bigger every year. Again, drawing international attention. Her production, El Aldalón, did I say it right? Okay, The Healer. It was remarkable, telling the story of a healer from Mexico. It was shown as the highlight of the film festival in 2013. And her recent film, Accomplishment Shilonen, honoring young women in our community, a tradition in Watsonville for over 20 years that I have been proud to be able to participate in. In traditional indigenous societies, the honoring of a young girl entering into young womanhood is something that acknowledges the passage in her life that she can carry with her always. This tradition is honored in Watsonville every year in the second weekend of July at a Pinto Lake County Park. It started as a tradition with 6 to 10 Aztec dancers in the plaza over 20 years ago, and last year had over 350 people inside that dance arbor coming from all over the country. Consuelo was able to capture that on film, to present it in a dignifying and an exemplary manner that we can proudly continue this tradition and spread it all over the country, if not the world. So Consuelo, it is my honor and my privilege to be able to present you with this little certificate for all the beautiful things you do for our community.
I don't know what to say. I'm really shy when I have to speak in public, but I really appreciate it. You know, all these small things I didn't know you knew. That we always try to do what's the right thing. And I'm going to say we because John is a big part of what I do, so I get this recognition, but a big part is for him too. And I just want to say that I'm inspired every day by this beautiful community. There are so many people here doing wonderful things every day that I feel very proud to be part of that. Really, here is where I learned the meaning of community. So I'm very proud to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Paparazzi follows you everywhere.
Thank you. The woman that I'd like to honor is a resident that was born and raised here in town, and is also a second or third generation that was born and raised here through the ag, educated through Berkeley, and was instrumental, as what's been mentioned before, with regarding documenting what history we do have here that is of quite a depth, and was one of the instigators in helping out with the Pajaro Valley Historical Association, and would like to be able to honor her. She has moved away with family that's in Oregon, but I do have this in case anybody from the Historical Society would be here, so that I can go ahead and share that honor with her. The first thing that came up was women and then history, and the two of them just matched with me to go ahead and select Jane Borg as our honoree from my recommendation for this honor this year. And I'm hoping that in that process that we can actually do something with, get the walking trails going again, having the recognition of what we have with the depth and the roots of the historical bones of a lot of these structures that we have in town here, so that we can actually enjoy what we're out there seeing in the stories that these homes can tell and share with our youth and generations to come. So again, while my honoree is not here in attendance, I'll make sure that this gets passed along to her to honor her for the work that she's done for our community here and for the youth in our area for years to come. Thank you.
Well, District 7 has many senior citizens, and they are very, very active in the community. So this was a difficult decision. There are several people that I could have named as the representative for District 7. But the person that I selected, was born on the East Coast, lived in Santa Cruz for a while, but is known extremely well in Watsonville. And many of you that have had teachers in Watsonville, when you hear this name, you know Rhea DeHart. And you say, she was an educator, and she was. And then she retired from education. And what did she do? Well, she was a substitute teacher. She was on the Pajaro Valley School Board. She wanted to volunteer, give back her time. And who better than an educator? And she still attends almost every school board meeting, Wednesday nights. She's there. But in addition to that, she got involved with the city commissioner. Right now, she's on the Parks and Recreation Commission. I think she was on Personnel Commission. She's done so many different, she works with me with Watsonville Aptos Adult Education on our Community Advisory Council. She's on the Pajaro Valley Prevention and Student Assistance Committee, our advisory council for that. She is so involved in so many things. And recently, she attends all of these city council meetings. She's always here. And sits right here in the front, every meeting. And now she's been involved with Let the People Vote, going out, getting petitions signed and all of that, and initiatives that are going to be on the ballot. But someone that is very committed to our community, and that's Rhea DeHart.
Oh, congratulations.
I feel real honored for Dr. Bilicic to make this presentation to me. But actually, I'm a recent resident in District 7. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of other movers and shakers who live in District 7. One of them is Lorraine Stuckey. Her house, Lorraine's house, is like Grand Central Terminal for information. On every issue, whenever you're going to have a meeting of seniors and you want turnout, you contact Lorraine Stuckey, and she gets the word out and gathers the crowd. The other one is Deborah Nunes, who lives in District 7, and she manages to always do door-to-door whenever we're having flood meetings, flood insurance meetings, turn them out, because District 7 is really where the flood people live and where we really have to speak out about the issues that affect us in this area. So I really am delighted, but as I say, and the rest of you have acknowledged, we've just been singled out, but there are many, many people out there that are really involved in their community and making it a better community that's receptive to that community.
And just before anyone sits down or gets too comfortable, I do want to invite all of the women honorees. I'm thrilled and excited to see all of you here. And as a woman mayor, I just think it's always really important to highlight all of our work that we do in our careers and in our communities. So please come forward. I would love a picture with you. And if you haven't already spoken, please, if you would like to say anything, also you have that opportunity.
Hi, so thank you. I want to thank you, the City Council members, and especially City Council Montesino for selecting me. I'm really honored. I only do the work that I do because I have the support of the community that has enabled me to serve them, and also my organization, El Pájaro CDC. And I need to say that I mean, there are a lot of strong women that allow me and support me in doing this work. I have 7 of my board members are women. So 2 of them are here, Rachel and Marcella. And I also have 2 very strong staff person, Amy Mascareñas and Becky Rubalcaba, who weren't able to be here. Becky had to leave, but I'm very proud of the work that we do, because we do think that we impact people in a positive way, and we help a lot of women also realize their dreams, are becoming their own bosses and creating their own job, one entrepreneur at a time, one business at a time. So thank you very much, and I'm honored also to be in this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful company of amazing local women. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm kind of speechless. I want to thank Karina for nominating me, and all of these women have touched my life, so in one way or the other, so I'm really honored to be up here with all of you. And I'm much better at dancing instead of speaking to an audience. So I just want to say too that the work in the arts, the work in education, to me, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a real honor to do what I do. And thank you. I love so many of you out there and love this community. So thank you.
I just also want to first and foremost thank God for giving me the opportunity to do the type of work that I do. I feel very lucky to be able to do it from my heart and from my soul. And like Felipe said, to speak for the people that don't have voice sometimes. And to right now with the gang members and the kids that are on probation, to never forget that those are also lives of people that sometimes are hopeless because people have given up on them. And so I feel really passionate about the work that I do. And I'm very happy to be able to stand up here with all the women that are on this you know, that have also touched my life, and also even the people that are on the city council that have continued to support me and cheered me on, and people in the community. I have not been able to do what I do without the support of the community. And I want to thank my daughters. I have 3 beautiful daughters that share me with the community, and my husband, and Rosa, and everybody else that helps me care for my family and helps me do what I do. So thank you guys all.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight and allowing us to say amazing things that about you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone? Group love. I know.
Back order too.
Sure.
Try this as far as I can. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, congratulations.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was so moving. Thank you. I forgot about some of those things.
Thanks, Karina.
Congratulations. We'll be seeing you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Consuelo, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, sir. Thank you for your work. Yeah, so nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Indulge.
Sure. So we'll just hear very quickly from Ms. Margarita Carrillo.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You know, I just wanted to say very briefly, a thank you for honoring these wonderful women in this wonderful celebration of Women's History Month. You know, these are extremely wonderful examples of women who are giving back to our community, and I had just three quotes of women throughout history that I feel that these wonderful women are examples of how now they are placed in, and I pulled these quotes out of the Library of Congress, and now they are also in good company. Energy rightly applied can accomplish anything, Nellie Bly. Just don't give up trying to do what you really want to do. Where there is love and inspiration, I don't think you can go wrong, Ella Fitzgerald. And that's all I had. I really think it's really important to recognize that all of these women here are an absolute example of shining stars in our community. Thank you very much for celebrating them tonight.
Thank you. So now I would like to return us to oral communications from our council members. Councilmember Dodge.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. I too will be really briefly, because there's a lot of things I want to get in 3 minutes. One, I would like to say congratulations also to Najera Villalobos, who I nominated for the Youth Council, was a recipient of one of the Cesar Chavez's awards. Si se puede, Najera. I also wanted to be able to mention real quickly the Granite Construction Company recently won an award for the Ethnosphere Institute for being the world's most ethical company, 2014. Congratulations, Granite Construction Company. I wanted to be able to let people, I wanted to ask this council on a future agenda It's being looked at other agendas across the state, the county. Our city to the north is actually looking at tonight for the latest on e-cigarettes and how that affects our smoking policy in parks and such. For those that are unfamiliar with e-cigarettes, they use a vaporizing component to it, not necessarily tobacco, but I think a lot of governmental agencies are looking into that now, and I'd like to see it come back to this council at a latter date with some information on that. Also, I wanted to be able to thank all those who put together the Watsonville Film Festival. We heard some discussion of it this evening from Watsonville Tech and Bejaremos Productions. It was an excellent event. It was well attended. It brings people into our community to be able to fill the restaurants, to stay in the hotels, and engages other members of the community who don't traditionally become involved in film and their activities. The Watsonville Film Festival is a unique marketing opportunity to have authors, I guess you call them authors, producers, directors, have their work exhibited, and it was quite the event. I had a really good time, including at the VIP celebration. So I think I beat my time. The Metro at the Watsonville Transit Center is progressing further, and we should have a report back from that in one of the recent Santa Cruz Metro meetings. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for putting this evening together.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
Thank you. I just want to mention that there is some fundraising going on for the Measure G that will be a barbecue held at Eastlake Village on Saturday. We're doing a beautification, or there will be a beautification project going on with the welcome signs for Main Street and Riverside, and that project is getting off the ground on Saturday morning. We have a supervisor candidate forum scheduled for April 29th for anybody interested. That will be at the Methodist Church at 6 p.m. The Community Action Board is going to go ahead and have a meet and greet if anybody's interested on Wednesday, April 2nd. There's a homeless coalition that we're working at a collectively meeting that will be April 9th from 1:30 to 3:30 here at the Old Chambers. I also wanted to make sure that the FEMA information that's out there is not only on the website, but we'll physically have maps for people who may be interested in knowing a little bit more awareness about where our flood zones actually are, because it's still very confusing out there, even for people that are interested in our area, properties, things like that. So they will physically be putting a map out where the utilities are, where you can pay the bill, and you can look at the map itself and see where you stand on that or properties are located. Freedom Rotary took a tour of the Firehouse Museum today, and we're looking at working with the city to maybe get some grants together to help out with the beautification on that, which is also historical, having the museum there. So look for a little bit more of that coming up here soon. And on behalf of the city, I'm involving in the ag culture class. It's a year process where we're learning a lot more in depth about our community and how the agricultural component is involved intricately with our city here. So it's been interesting, and I enjoy the classes and I look forward to more of them. And then I have the, I also want to thank the staff for allowing me to do a little walkthrough for the reclamation plant, bringing my family through there and taking a look. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that location, there's quite a bit of a walking trail that's accessible, canoes as well. I encourage you to take a look at it. It's a very a beautiful location to go ahead and spend an afternoon with a picnic. And you don't think of water reclamation with picnic, but really it's a genuinely beautiful location there that's been restored nicely for those that want to take a look and get some fresh air and walk their way down to the coast. So those are a few things that are on my to-do list here. So enjoy that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bilicic.
First of all, I wanted to thank the people who came to the Zone 7 flood meeting last week. There was a large representation of people here that were interested in the Pajaro levee project, and our next meeting is June 16th, so I hope that we'll have more people here, and I think we'll have a lot more items on the agenda that people will be involved with. So that was the Zone 7 meeting last week. And then we also had the Ag Luncheon on Wednesday, I think it was, and it was really well received. The ag community is very important in our community, and a lot of people there, and it was a good event. And I, let's see, Councilmember Hurst and Councilmember Kaufman-Gomez both were there, and it was just a nice event. So I appreciated people that supported the event. I had some questions on our latest check register. I did talk to our finance director on some questions this afternoon. He said he doesn't have the data, but I also wanted the information on the expenditures of, there's a Heim case for $10,000, and then another place where we have, I believe, legal fees for the Heim case for $69,000. And I hope we're getting close to getting this settled, but I do want to talk to him about those expenditures. And then I thought that the Cesar Chavez Awards was a great event, and by far the best one that we've had. I won't go into more detail because we've already talked about it, but appreciate your efforts too, Mayor. That was great. So thank you. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurst?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend the Watsonville Film Festival as I was at the local government commission's two-day conference on making smart growth pencil out. And so I wore out a couple of pencils making smart growth pencil out, and I'll be providing a full report to the council and the public a little later on. The Cesar Chavez Awards were really great, and it was well attended, and so congratulations to those awardees and the good work that is done in the community. This weekend I attended the Pajaro Valley Arts Council's reception for local printmakers, and that show is going on at the Pajaro Valley Arts office, gallery, that's what we call it. It is the gallery, and so I suggest that everyone have a chance to go there and see the good work that local artists throughout the Monterey Bay have provided. In honor of National Ag Day, the luncheon that we attended was very, very nice out at the fairgrounds at the Ag History Project. But prior to the Ag Luncheon, Congressman Farr came to Watsonville High School and spoke to the agricultural students at Watsonville High, and he talked to them about the Farm Bill. And it was well attended. You wouldn't think the high school students would be interested in the Farm Bill, but they were. And so I thank Congressman Farr for his presence in the community. We know that El Pajaro CDC stakeholders is going to take place on Thursday, I believe it is, and I look forward to learning more about that operation. Today I was at Lynn Scott School for a musical performance, and of course it always renews my faith in the community and humanity in general to see young children doing musical productions and the wonderful love that they have for their teacher. So congratulations to the Lynn Scott students. And lastly, we've had the nurses were here, and I was glad to see the nurses, but I am a little saddened to hear of their concerns and the issues that they bring forward. And so I'm glad to stand with them and try and put the community in the community hospital. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Montesino?
Just real quick, I just want to echo those sentiments about our nurses. They're our community is a working community, and whenever somebody's hurting, we're all hurting, and we should all pay attention. Just that. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Hernandez?
You know, I'll be brief. Many people mentioned already some of the things. I had the opportunity to attend both days at the Watsonville Film Festival, and I had a great time. There's a lot of people from all over that came for the film festival. But I really want to thank the organizers again for doing events like this that create community in Watsonville. You know, it makes Watsonville a place to go to. The other thing is I wanna thank all the organizers too for the Cesar Chavez Community Awards. Many of the people there, the recipients of the awards, I think were really happy. You know, I seen a lot of them. You know, they became friends on Facebook as well afterwards, and they're really happy about these awards that they received. And it goes to show that we need to celebrate people more, celebrate people's accomplishments, celebrate people that do things in the community like volunteer or do things like arts in the community that, you know, make Watsonville a special place. And I think that, you know, oftentimes volunteering and doing this kind of stuff is a thankless job. So kudos to everyone that helped put those two events together. Thank you.
And I just wanted to very briefly recognize someone who's visiting us all the way from UCLA. She's a former Watsonville High graduate, Brianna Del Franco, and she's on her spring break and getting very close to graduating from one of the top universities that we have in the state and also nationally as well. So I do just want to, you know, recognize that she's here visiting us. And she'll be joining me at my Cesar Chavez Day of Service that I'm hosting this Saturday. We're doing a neighborhood beautification. There's a lot of that going on in our community, so it's great to hear. It's going to be in our neighborhood of 21 Carr Street is going to be our meeting place, but we'll be beautifying Carr Street as well as Center Street there downtown close to the Vets Hall on Saturday starting at 10 a.m. And so everyone is welcome. I know that this is a national effort to recognize a National Day of Service to honor Cesar Chavez's birthday on March 31st, but we're kicking off ours the weekend before his actual birthday, but definitely in his honor and in his legacy of public service to your community. I also wanted to just touch base on the water infrastructure improvements that began on Sunday, March 23rd. Phase 1 of the project began on Freedom Boulevard, and it really is in an effort just to continually serve our community better. And I know that Public Works Director Steve Palmisano informed me that many of the crews that are out there during the night hours, and so they're, you know, working on those improvements. They're away from their families, but they're really doing it in service to all of our residents so that water quality, water service maintains its high level of service here in our city. So I did just want to recognize their efforts along with letting people know that that work is happening along those roadways here in our community. And the other thing is that today's event, just thanking the Watsonville Film Festival, one of the events that they hosted in collaboration with the YWCA was a morning brunch, also recognizing women filmmakers. And so it just became very clear to me that a lot of the perspectives that women bring to various industries, including film in that particular example, were important to highlight and important to engage with. So it's what inspired today's recognition of many of the women sheroes that we have here in our community of Watsonville. And thank you all very much. Next on our agenda, we have a report out of closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed one item. We only had one item on tonight's closed session agenda, and the council received a report and gave direction to staff. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. All items appearing on our consent agenda are recommended actions, which are considered to be routine and will be acted upon as in one consensus motion. Any items that are removed will be considered immediately after the consensus motion. There is an opportunity for any members of the public wishing to address us on any item on our consent calendar, consent agenda. Seeing none, I'll return it to council. Dr. Bilicic?
I will be voting no on 4.4, but it does not need to be pulled.
Okay. Councilmember Montesino?
I'd like to move consent agenda, please.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Montesino and a second by Councilmember Dodge. Any discussion on our consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Realistic,
Yes, except 4.4.
Topman Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Cervantes.
Yes. Motion carries. And next we have our reports and presentations. Presentation by Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission regarding the draft 2014 Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Plan.
Madam Mayor, can I say a few words before while they get?
Sure.
Tonight you'll receive an overview of the draft 2014 Santa Cruz Regional Transportation Plan. The Regional Transportation Plan identifies the transportation needs and financial constraints from the Santa Cruz County for a 20-plus year time frame through year 2035. As your City Council representative to the Regional Transportation Commission, I, along with public works representatives, have been participating on your behalf in many stages of the update process for this long transportation plan. For agreeing on these goals and evaluation targets to the development of the priority list, George Dondero, Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission, and Ginger Dykar, Transportation Planner, will provide the presentation and will lead the discussion. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm George Dondero from the RTC. What we have to show you tonight are some highlights of the update of our regional plan. It's something we do every 4 years. Normally, that would be a fairly routine task. However, this time around, there are many things that are different about this plan, and I will let Ginger explain what those are. What you're going to see is the result of many, many months of drafts and review by both the Regional Transportation Commission, folks in the public, your public works and planning staff, and people around the county. But we are welcoming comments on this plan until April 8th. And I'm very proud to present another very accomplished woman on our staff, in the spirit of this evening's presentations, Ginger Dykar, who's the project manager on this project. Ginger?
Good evening, and thank you for welcoming me here tonight to discuss the draft 2014 Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Plan. I'm going to do what I can to make this presentation on the Regional Transportation Plan as heartwarming as the presentation on the honoring the woman in this community, but I think we all agree that that's a tough act to follow. I want to start by acknowledging all who have helped develop this plan. This was very much a group effort. Many members of the RTC staff, the RTC committees, the project sponsors, including the Public Works of Watsonville, as well as the rest of the Public Works departments in the county. Caltrans, Metro, Ecology Action, and others have all participated. The public interest groups and the public have all come together at various stages of this project to provide their input. So the focus of my item today will be to review what is the Regional Transportation Plan, or the RTP. What's different about the plan this time around for the 2014 plan? I'll go over the main components of the plan and then discuss a little bit about the performance of the plan. Let's go back one slide, please. So the Regional Transportation Plan is a long-range plan. It identifies the transportation projects, the needs in our county, as well as the financial constraints over a 20-plus year time frame. So for this plan, it's through 2035. It's a state-mandated plan, and we have to have projects in the Regional Transportation Plan in order to obtain certain types of funding. And I think most importantly, what I want to bring up today is that the Regional Transportation Plan really provides a vision for what our transportation system can look like for Santa Cruz County over the next 20-plus years. The Regional Transportation Plan is not to be confused with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. The MTP is a long-range plan that is developed by AMBAG, and there's a couple of different components of the Regional Transportation Plan that do fit into the AMBAG plan. AMBAG's Metropolitan Transportation Plan is a tri-county plan for Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey County. So now I'd like to go into, there's a number of differences in this plan from previous plans. The 2014 Regional Transportation Plan has a focus on sustainability. So not only are we looking at improving or making improvements on congestion and maintenance needs, but we're also taking a look at the economic vitality of our region, as well as the public and environmental health. So we're addressing such things as obesity, emissions from greenhouse gases or other pollutants, and all within the financial constraints that we have for our county. And another reason that the transportation plan, next slide please, is different this time around is because we have a state mandate to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through Senate Bill 375. The Senate Bill 375 requires the AMBAG as the Metropolitan Planning Organization for our region to develop a sustainable communities strategy as part of their metropolitan transportation plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through coordinating land use and transportation planning. And therefore, given our regional transportation plan for Santa Cruz County feeds into the metropolitan transportation plan, the projects that are included in our plan that are prioritized also are prioritized to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And one more reason the plan is different this time around is because we're assessing the performance of this plan to how well it advances our goals through 2035. And that's something different we have not done before. Not only will it help us assess performance if these projects in this plan are implemented, but also by identifying these targets, it also helps us to track to see as we move along in implementing projects how well we're moving forward in advancing our goals. So now I'll talk about the main components of the plan. There's three main components. First one that was developed is the policy element. This is where the goals, policies, and the targets were identified. Previous plans, the goals and policies were much more extensive. They've been very much simplified in this plan down to 3 different goals, and that can be seen further in chapter 4, I believe, of the plan. Next slide, please. The second main component of the plan is the financial element. This is where it is estimated on how much revenue is available over this 22-year time frame to address transportation needs. The amount that was determined was $2.7 billion that's available through 2035. 75% of this, or $2.1 billion, of these funds are dedicated funds to certain types of transportation projects. So of that $2.1 billion, 50% of it is for transit projects, from majority of which is from that half-cent sales tax. Other projects, such as maintenance, is on the order of about 23%, and highway projects 17% from that dedicated portion of the funds. There's also the remainder of the funds are discretionary funds, and of that, in this financial element, we assumed that a sales tax measure and a vehicle registration fee would be passed in 2016 in order to bring about $390 million towards which will be up to voter discretion to implement transportation projects. Of this funding, $155 million is under RTC, or the Regional Transportation Commission discretion, which is about $7 million per year. Next slide, please. The third main component of the plan is the action element, and this is where all the transportation needs are identified for the county. So we go to project sponsors, all of the local jurisdictions, as I mentioned earlier, and get an update on what are the transportation needs for their jurisdiction. Then we take that total needs list and divide it into 2 different projects, or 2 different lists. One list is projects that could be implemented with the available revenue, and the other list would be the unconstrained list, or projects that would need additional funding in order to be implemented. The project list shows that the total need for our county is $5.7 billion through 2035, and the available revenue is about half of that, or $2.7 billion. And again, the available revenue here is assuming that a sales tax measure and a vehicle registration fee is passed in 2016. So let's now talk about what types of transportation projects are being funded in this plan. The 2014 RTP has a greater emphasis on maintenance. If pavement condition is not kept in good condition through preventative maintenance, I think you probably have heard this story before, the costs are about 10 times more for rehabilitating pavement if they're left to deteriorate. And so in order to keep our pavement condition up to a good level, we really need to be taking care of them at a more of a preventative level. Right now, the pavement condition average for the county is about 53. Yeah, stick with the maintenance. And that's the pavement condition index on a scale of 0 or a scale of 1 to 100. The pavement condition index average for the county is about 53. For Watsonville, the pavement condition index average was estimated in 2012 to be 35. The good pavement condition is considered to be 70. So Watsonville is typically they spend about 1.5 million per year that's spent. Ideally, they would like to have 2.5 million per year, and that does not include the backlog of projects for maintenance. And the RTP funds maintenance about $2 million per year. So it's better than status quo, but it's not still up to what the need is for Watsonville. Next slide, please. Also for local streets and roads, the Watsonville projects that are prioritized in this plan are to improve traffic flow. This is an example of a roundabout that's in the city of Santa Cruz on Pacific and Center Street that shows how roundabouts can be used to improve traffic flow as well as accommodate the needs of multiple users, particularly here for bicycle and pedestrians. Also for local streets and roads, the types of projects that are prioritized in this plan are complete streets projects, which prioritize the needs of multiple transportation users, which would include bicycle, pedestrians, as well as transit. Next slide, please. The Highway 1 corridor projects. Over the last 10 years, there's been a number of projects along Highway 1, starting with the Mission Street widening project, the Highway 1 17 merge lanes project, as well as the Soquel-Morrissey auxiliary lanes project that was just completed in 2013. In this plan, 3 additional auxiliary lane projects are being prioritized, which would take auxiliary lanes from Soquel Drive to State Park Drive. And also there's bicycle and pedestrian bridges on Chanticleer Avenue and also Mar Vista that would provide for bike ped access over Highway 1. There's also a greater emphasis, next slide please, on bicycle and pedestrian projects in this plan, particularly projects that would provide for separated bike and pedestrian trails that would convince beginning riders to get out there and use bicycling and walking as a means for transportation. One example of this is the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail project, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. The 2 of the segments have been programmed for funding already, one of which is in Watsonville that runs from Walker Street to Lee Road. And next slide, please. Also for transit, the focus on transit for this plan is for travel time improvements. There are a number of projects that would provide queue jumps. As shown here in this diagram, as you can see, the bus is in a separate lane that at a signal that would allow it to get ahead of the other cars, and as the signal turns, it would have priority through that traffic signal that would help travel time. Also for transit, to improved service for high ridership routes such as the Watsonville to Santa Cruz routes that are currently extremely high ridership for the metro routes. Next slide, please. And the rail line. We currently have a study that has just started to assess the feasibility of rail for passenger service, and so stay tuned to see what we find out as far as what kind of feasibility we have to provide passenger service. This is a study that we're aiming to complete in about 18 months, and so also rail is prioritized in this project. Now I'd like to shift to talk about the performance of the plan. Oh, let's see, I wanted to remind you that in Chapter 6 in the Regional Transportation Plan, there's a map there of the projects that are prioritized for this plan. So please take a look in there, as well as Appendix E that shows the list of all the transportation projects that are prioritized for Watsonville. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to talk about how well the plan performs in Advancing our goals, the first one that I'm addressing here is the greenhouse gas emissions reduction target. We took a look at if all the projects in this plan are implemented, how much would it help people drive less? And the measure for that is a vehicle miles traveled. So in this left-hand side, this shows that in 2005, the vehicle miles traveled was about 15.3 miles per day per person. And in 2035, it was reduced to 12.7, which is a 17% reduction in the amount of people driving. And this is brought about by integrating land use and transportation, so people are living closer to where they work and closer to shopping. And this translates into a greenhouse gas emissions reduction on the order of 16% per person. Next slide, please. We also looked at the economic benefit. When people drive less, they're spending less money on fuel. And this was determined to be on the order of about $335 per year per household in savings from people spending less money on fuel. And for the county, the savings was $38 million per year. And if all of this money was spent in the county, then the increase in the economic benefit to the local economy was on the order of $13 million per year. Next slide, please. And I'd like to encourage you to provide comments on the regional transportation plan. The plan can be found on our website, the sccrtc.org. Comments can be sent to our email, which is info@sccrtc.org, and the public comment period is over on April 8th. Then just one final thing, the final regional transportation plan is scheduled to be approved on June 26th of this year. And I'll be happy to take any questions and comments.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Councilmember Dodge?
Thank you, Ginger. Even though I've heard this a few times as the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District representative to the Regional Transportation Commission, I enjoy hearing it each and every time. That being said, for some folks that don't might not grasp it, that the rail trail, so to speak, is included in this plan, and that there was a very interesting discussion at a variety of meetings pertaining to the rail trail plan, including Section 17 that somewhat was advocated very strongly for by the bicycle community on one side, and some of the agribusiness on the other side. Could you really just explain really quick what is the options are on Section 17 and how that decision was reached and how they're going to proceed further on that?
Let me just offer one clarification, and then I think I'll let my George Shondero, the executive director, talk to that issue. But as far as this plan goes, the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail is on the constrained list or prioritized for 40 million of the, 40 million plus two of the projects that are already programmed. So it's on the order of about 47 million of the 126 million total for the project.
Good point. I just wanted to be able to, I'm familiar with it, but I have the opportunity to acquaint others with the situation not situation, just what's going on with that section.
Okay.
Sure. Well, currently, not much of anything's going on with that section because it isn't funded yet. And once funding does arrive, once we identify some funding, we'll start a planning process to work with the community, including adjacent landowners and growers along the line, to look at any feasible alternatives besides putting the trail on the rail right-of-way. So that will, the exact alignment will be determined at a future date, but that language to that effect was written into the plan, that the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail Master Plan, and that was by mutual agreement between the RTC and a group representing the local growers. Does that answer your question?
Sort of to the extent that the alternative, and thank you for addressing that, to the part of the alternative there in the discussions that we had at the Regional Transportation Commission meeting was that that section could possibly, the 17B plan that was presented, that section could possibly be taken off of the rail trail and put on
Right.
San Andreas Road.
It could be, yes.
And West, I guess that's West Beach.
Yeah,
All the way
right.
out. So the
Right.
only section that addresses southern Santa Cruz County, and particularly into Watsonville, there's a possibility at a later date
Yes.
that section could be taken off the rail and forced onto.
It could be,
All
yes.
right. So that
Correct.
I just wanted people to understand that then it doesn't become necessarily a rail trail. But I look forward to that discussion
Well,
in the
it'd
future.
be part of that rail network, or trail network, but not on the rail line directly,
Thank you.
necessarily.
Can I ask one more question, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
The Highway 1 widening, that's a very sensitive subject in this neck of the woods. There's a variety different of opinions. It affects quality of life for thousands of our folks. 50% of the Watsonville does not work in Watsonville. And in the numbers, you have the numbers greater than me on how many trips there are on Highway 1 North every day. The Highway 1 corridor project, as it was referred to.
Right.
Again, I would like the members of this board and people that might not be familiar so much with the Regional Transportation Commission, that's only planned to be able to go for the funding that's available for this project only to State Park Drive until 2035?
That's correct, unless other funding should arrive.
And how do you perceive bus rapid transit being part of those limitations?
I'm not real familiar with the details of bus rapid transit as it's being proposed in the plan. Do you have anything on that, Ginger? I think part of that, what's being proposed, because it came from Metro staff,
right,
is on Soquel, and part of it is on the highway. And the reason it would be on Soquel is you use the queue jumping example that Ginger gave you. Is that correct? Right. And give prioritization at signals to the buses so that they get a little bit of an advantage out there in traffic. It's not, the same as having an express lane, but it definitely gives you, faster service than what you have out there right now. As far as on the highway, the HOV lanes are way out in the future right now. So we don't have a dedicated lane for the buses in this plan, but anybody who's out there using that highway every day, at least the feedback we're getting and my own personal experience is such that these auxiliary lanes are improving the traffic flow. It's not the be-all, end-all, for sure, but it is definitely improved conditions and makes less of that stop-and-go traffic, and at least flowing at 35 instead of stop-and-go from 0 to 20 and back and forth. So I think the auxiliary lane projects will contribute to, more predictable trip times, better trip times, overall. It's not the ultimate as having an HOV lane out there, for sure. But there's just not enough money within this time frame, this 22-year time frame, to do the $600 million worth of work that it would take us to get out to the HOV lanes.
Thank you. I know we've had that conversation on several occasions, but
Yes.
now that you're in the House, I wanted you to be able to express that to others. And because this plan is dependent and assumes and it's based on voter approval of a sales tax.
That's right.
And a vehicle registration fees.
Yes.
What happens if, what do you project, or what can you say that if that doesn't, worst case scenario, and that doesn't happen?
If that doesn't happen, there'll be a lot fewer projects built than what are shown on the constraint lists in this plan. A lot fewer. I think on the highway alone, we'd take off 2 of the auxiliary lane projects. So we'd be down to 1 instead of 3. Okay.
Thank you for taking the time to address my questions.
Certainly.
Councilmember Bilicic.
First of all, I want to commend you for what I see in the North County at the auxiliary lanes. I know you've spent a lot of time, effort, and things have improved. But my concern is down here in South County, when are you going to refinish things like Beach Road? People use Beach Road all the time to go to the beach. You've been out there, all these potholes, boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's ridiculous. I know your focus is on the main freeway, the corridors, it looks great. But what about some of the roads down here?
The local roads, if you look in your appendix, is it D? E. There's a list of all the projects. If you look on the constrained list, those are the ones that we're proposing that could be funded during the life of the plan. Those projects came from your Public Works Department and your planning departments to us as nominated as their priority projects. I don't know if Beach Road is in there, but do you know?
These are not city projects. These are county projects.
Well, then the county, the same thing.
So-
Whatever jurisdiction it's in on the local road network, that jurisdiction sets the priorities. We don't set those priorities.
Well, we have in our city, we do have a plan, and
Right.
Public Works works on a plan. We've got that, but the county roads. How do we get more attention in South County on roads? A lot of people want to go to Palm Beach, things like that. How do we get priority?
I would start with talking to your county supervisor for that district, whichever one that happens to be, and also build a relationship with County Public Works. Because those are the conduit, that's where you have to start to work on those local roads.
Well, County Public Works has been helpful. They've told us that the roads are in terrible shape. That's what they've said.
Right.
And there's no money.
They have.
And the supervisors are where? North County. We only have 2 down here. Really 1 that's in our area. The other one's more Aptos kind of. So it's very difficult to get projects down here in South County.
Well, the reality is for the rural parts of the county, they're incredibly underfunded. I mean, they have the most road mileage and the least amount of dollars per road mile to spread it over. So they are coming up short, there's no doubt about it. And that's true in most rural areas around the state. It's just an unfortunate reality. And if we don't get that sales tax measure passed, the roads will deteriorate even faster because we'll be able to do less maintenance.
If you're looking for a tax, again, a tax,
Right.
you're going to have to show what you're going to do in South County to get South County support. Because if it's all North County, people are going to say, forget it.
It's distributed geographically. That was one of Ginger's first tasks when we got to building up that big list of projects. I said, you make sure it's balanced geographically because otherwise the voters won't support this. You're absolutely right.
We don't
totally
have a
agree with
copy
you.
of that list. We don't have it in our packet. It's not with us, our list,
Okay,
the list, your list.
we can send you the links. It's all posted on our website, but we'll be glad to get that to you first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
I'm looking over your executive summary. In Chapter 6, which this was part of the packet, so this is where I'm basing some of the questions off of. It shows that there's about 500 projects in Santa Cruz County. What is your divide percentage from South County versus North County on the 500 projects that are proposed in this?
By number of projects or number of dollars?
Well, either way will be helpful.
Well, I don't have, do you know that? I don't have that on the top of my head.
Okay. Because it looks like there's a lot of projects, but we still don't know what the emphasis is on the support on the south end for these projects. So that's why I'm trying to gauge a little bit of where the money's being spent.
Okay.
And I know that you have the constrained and the unconstrained, and I just, a summary doesn't give a lot of the details, and this is the first time I've had some information that's going on with this. You also have in here modifications to major arterial roads, including intersection improvements and bus pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Can we get a list of what these major arterial roads are that you're looking at that would be on your priority of focus? So at least we have some idea of what that looks like or the locations.
All the projects, again, are on the project list, and as far as the arterials, there aren't that many in the county, so I'm sure we can provide that.
Well, yeah, I guess it'd just be helpful because I don't think I had that as part of the packet to read so that I can reference it this way instead of going to the website before the presentation. So I just...
It's about a 250-page document. We didn't want to burden too much of your packet to provide that, and there's a link there should be a link to the regional transportation plan and the staff report. But we can provide it again tomorrow.
And I'm left with 2 questions. The one is, you've mentioned the tax. We're already dealing with a tax issue on our ballot in June And what is the proposal on the one that you're looking at requesting, which is then going to raise us even further on what our taxes?
Well, it hasn't been formally put forward yet, but the assumption embedded in the plan is a half-cent countywide.
So we would be going from 8.5 to 9.5.
Right.
If there's an approved.
If you approve your city tax, that's correct.
And then the relationship between the Santa Cruz Regional Transportation versus the Caltrans in funding, or is it this funding from both sources on these projects? I just want to know where our money is actually coming from on this.
Our money comes from both state and federal sources, as well as local sales tax. We get a 1/4 cent sales tax, most of which goes to Santa Cruz Metro, and then some goes to bike or to non-motorized type projects. And then we also get some federal money and occasionally some state money as well.
In
But
conjunction.
Caltrans they get a lot of money off the top just for maintaining the state highway system, and then for several other functions as well.
Okay, so if we have Caltrans money, we're not looking at the state and the federal for these other projects. I just want to how our money's.
We very rarely get Caltrans money. Okay, the Caltrans SHOP program, which maintains state highways, is totally controlled by Caltrans. We don't have any. I mean, they show it to us, but the reality is we don't get much input on that, on those priorities.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Montesino.
Yeah, and I just want to remind council members that the document has been sitting there at the council office for less 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to put it back so you guys can good reading material. Believe me. One of the questions that I had, and I can't find it. Ginger, see if you can help me. I think there was a graph here that it just showed peak times in Highway 1.
On the highway? Oh, those are the graphs that do you remember the page?
I cannot find it here.
I think the plan you have might be the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Is that the,
Covered.
yeah, that's the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and that might even be the Environmental Impact Report.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Plan, you're talking about that travel time graph, which can be found on page 3-7. But I don't know if anybody can bring it up right now.
Yeah.
I have it. Because I have no life.
Actually, I do I have it in the slides, so if we can get the slides back on, I can bring that up. It's
Well, if I read
down
this,
in the other direction.
if I read this correct,
Keep going.
well, I'll hand, yeah, there you go.
Keep going. There it is.
There.
Is this the one you were referring to?
Yeah.
Want her to explain it?
Yeah. Could you explain it to
Sure. And I will be bringing this back to the RTC to discuss and further too, but for this council, this is the measure of the travel time from Watsonville to Santa Cruz in the northbound direction. So travel time is on the left-hand side, and that's in minutes. On the horizontal axis is time of day and 24-hour clock. So you can see at 8 o'clock in the morning that it takes the longest amount of travel time to go from Watsonville, and that's from Highway 129 to Ocean Street. Let me first explain the blue line that's straight across. And so if there is no congestion and you're able to drive at 65 miles per hour, the travel time is at about 15 minutes from 129 to Ocean Street, going along Highway 1. The red line is the mean or the average travel time. And so this data is from Caltrans detectors there's about 15 of them in the northbound direction going from starting at around Freedom Boulevard to Highway 17. This data goes into a database system called PEMS, which is Performance Measuring System. And the data that's collected here is taken every 5 minutes for a year to determine this travel time graph. And the dates that it covers is September 1st, I believe, 2012, through August 31st, 2013. And again, the red line is the average travel time that it takes. And so at 8 o'clock in the morning, the average travel time is at around 24 minutes. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. The green line shows that the time that it takes, that 95% of the time, it will be less time than shown on that green graph. And so at the peak time, right around 8 o'clock, it takes 95% of the time. The trip along Highway 1 from 129 to Ocean Street takes 30 minutes or less. And in the evening, the green line shows that the 95% of the time, the travel time going in the northbound direction is about 21 minutes or less. And the average would be on the order of 17 minutes.
And I wanted to point this out because if you talk to members in the community, it takes more than 30 minutes. And this is, even though we're giving this information, if you, even if you go out, most, even in a bus, or I can tell you, Councilmember Dodge can tell you some experiences, that, trying to get to a metro meeting, how long does it take you?
47 minutes. Was the last time it took me. Well, actually, it took me 47 minutes to make it at a 9 o'clock meeting, and almost an hour and 10 minutes to make it at an 8:30 meeting.
So one thing I do want to point out, that this is just the travel time along the highway. So if you're leaving from your house and you have to go a few miles on the local roadways, and there's congestion.
That's through the Fishhook to Riverside. Yeah, so agreed. And those are average times, which means half more, half less. Am I not correct?
Correct. For the red line.
That's the red line.
But for the red line, so that say on average, it's 24 minutes to go from Highway 129 along Highway 1 to Ocean Street. And the other thing that I would like to bring up is that I've been told numerous times from the consultant that I worked with that people typically remember the worst travel time that it takes. And that's what all of you hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, if I had a good one, I'd remember it.
Any more questions, Councilmember Montesino?
No.
Okay, so Councilmember Hurst, since he hasn't asked any questions, and then we'll come back to Dr. Bilicic.
You know, in the executive summary, there is discussion about congestion and traffic jams on Highway 1 being the most obvious example. When I was at the local government commission's smart growth meeting, they had a little different definition of congestion rather than just too many cars and not enough road. They said that congestion is too many empty seats, whether it's in passenger cars or public conveyances. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I just happened to have a meeting this morning with a few of our staff about how we want to shape the future of our Commute Solutions program, which is part of that program is a rideshare program, helps people find partners to share rides with. And we've had this program for over 20 years. And it's a very tricky program to promote and get people to participate in. For some reason, data coming in says that just very recently, in the last couple of years, people are walking more, people are riding their bikes more, they're riding the bus more, they're riding trains more, but they're ride sharing less, and we don't know why. So we're working on that. You know, we could use some more park and ride lots, definitely here in the South County. I think that would help, but I don't think that's going to solve the issue. So stay tuned. I don't have the definitive answer on that one. Good question, though.
Councilmember Bilicic?
If I understood you right, you said that the roads are supposed to be like a quality of 70. Didn't you say something like that? 70 is good?
That's considered good quality,
Good
yes.
quality.
Yes.
And that overall in the county, they're 53s.
Correct.
But in South County, it's 35.
in the city of Watsonville.
Okay, okay, so my question is, was there any priority given to projects in South County, being that the roads are so terrible down here over the 53s?
Again, the priority of the projects on rehab projects like that typically is more driven by the Public Works Department for that jurisdiction.
So it's not really addressed in the plan?
Well, I don't, do you want to?
I can speak to that.
Go ahead.
One of the issues with the city of Watsonville is there's very few fees that are collected by the city in order to go towards maintenance. And like the city of Santa Cruz has a Measure H, which they use for their road maintenance. And given the population of Watsonville, the relative amount of developer fees and other fees, and these would all be found in, I believe it's Appendix D, where it shows where the money comes from. Watsonville falls short compared to the city of Santa Cruz as far as the fees that are generated. I want to make sure you understand that this regional transportation plan considers all the funding, as much as we could figure out, that goes towards transportation in our county. And it doesn't necessarily mean that funding goes through the Regional Transportation Commission, but it's any funds that go towards transportation. So it's supposed to be an assessment for what does it take to operate, maintain, and improve the transportation system for Santa Cruz County.
But you're talking the city of Watsonville. I'm talking the outskirts, like Beach Road, like Holohan Road, like the surrounding roads around here. Isn't that part of the county's responsibility? Is that part of this group's responsibility?
That's part of the county's responsibility, and that would be addressed through the county.
And
as far as
through
them
your plan
prioritizing the
too?
projects.
Is it in your plan too?
Yes, they will be in here. And you could, in this Appendix E, every single project that was identified as a need in this county is listed there. There's 33 pages of projects in small font that tells you what the needs are. There's a project title, a description. So I would suggest that you see if the projects that you're thinking about are listed in there. And if they're not, or if they're not on the constrained list, then provide some comments to us. And we will see what we can do to address that and talk to the county and bring them to our commission to see if we need to shift priorities.
Thank you.
So this is also an opportunity for members of the public, if they would like to address us or the Regional Transportation Commission. This is your opportunity to do so. Seeing no one wishing to address us for public input, if there are some final comments.
Could I just
Sure, we have our city manager.
I just wanted to point out about the sales tax rate. I believe the quarter cent that the state put on will sunset in 2016, or is it? It's a 5-year tax. No, the state education sales tax. 2016. So so the sales tax will go down by a quarter cent in 2016 at the same time that this is going on the ballot, because the state education quarter cent sunsets.
And you're making reference to Prop 1A, 1B, correct?
No, 30, yeah.
Okay, Prop 30.
Prop 30.
Madam?
Final comments, Councilmember Dodge?
Yes. Well, I'm sure that I'll have more comments and more meetings, et cetera, et cetera. There is, what Mr. Dondero mentioned previously, that this falls into the Regional Transportation Commission's plan, falls into what's going on with AMBAG at another level. So all these plans have to get coordinated and move forward, which is why I thank you for coming this evening. But I do want to encourage people, because the deadline to reply to any of these concerns or issues is April 8th. So they're very good at email and even snail mail. But we need to be, I encourage the public to be able to send their concerns in by April 8th, which is part of the reason we had this presentation this evening. And
Madam Mayor, I would just like to offer that any council members or folks in the audience at home or tonight belong to other community groups that would like a presentation like this, or a more compact version, or just a chance to sit down and answer, informally ask questions and get answers, we are available. Please contact us.
Yes.
We understand there's a lot of information in this plan. Transportation funding is very convoluted. It's not intuitive. And it's easy to get confused. And we're doing our best to try and sort these things out so that they are understandable to everybody. And we really do welcome your input on any aspect of this plan.
Great. Thank you all for being here tonight
Welcome.
and providing this information. Did you want to comment,
Thank you,
Councilmember Hurst?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm just a little disappointed here this evening. We don't have more public input because this is a big issue, and we hear about it all the time. And so I hope the public will comment on the plan and provide their input, and maybe not at this opportunity, but it's before the deadline comes about. I do want to thank staff for prioritizing our local projects. I know the council has had input into that process, and I also want to remind the council that we do have 2 supervisors in the South County, and everything in District 3 is in the 2nd District. Everything on the north or west side of Green Valley Road is in the 2nd District, and so we do have 2 supervisors, and we need to reach out to them more often, and the public does as well. And so, just to sum up, transportation really is the lifeblood of the community. People have to get to work, and we all can't just stay within the city limits. And we want visitors to come and see us too. I have a lot of people that tell me they won't come down here for a meeting because they can't get here, or it takes too long. So I think we just always need to focus on the triple bottom line of the issue, and that's not just the financial, but also the social and the environmental aspects of it. So that's called the triple bottom line.
Great, thank you. So seeing no further discussion and no emergency items added to agenda, item 10.2 are informational items for the council to have read as part of their packets. They're also available online. Report of disbursements, as well as other miscellaneous documents. Seeing no further questions, comments, discussion, we'll go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting.